Inspiration for my book, Palo Alto, came from a lot of different directions. I grew up in Palo Alto, that's where I was born and raised, and I spent my first 18 years there. When I was in high school, it seems like kids were getting into quite a bit of trouble. I tell Gia, while we've been making our movie, some of the real stories about the real people behind the characters I wrote. And she always says, like, I can't believe so many crazy things happened in your high school.
I always had a hard time in high school, and so when I graduated college, I was kind of reflecting on that period in my life. And when James gave me his stories, I hadn't really seen anything that articulated that emotion, those growing pains when you're that age. It really resonated with me, and I related to it.
Teenagers, I think, are great subjects for art because it is such a raw period. It is a period where so many things are new, feelings are on the surface more, where identity is being created. Every little act seems like the end of the world. And so you can just write and talk about feelings in ways that are more accessible.
I felt like, there's a lot of movies today about teenagers but don't show the emotional complexity of that age group. And there were movies like American Graffiti or Diner, Last Picture Show, and Rumblefish and Virgin Suicides that I love so much, but just they haven't really been around in a while. So I was really excited by this chance.
I was just trying to remember with Gia how we met, and I think we just started talking about film and photography, and that led to me looking at her work. And I knew, based on the photos that I'd seen, she had the aesthetic for what I wanted. It was in line enough with my own sensibilities, but also different enough, and maybe because she was a young woman and was coming to the same kind of material from that direction, it just seemed both similar and different enough that it would be perfect.
I studied photography at Bard College. When I graduated, I was sort of in flux of what I was interested in. I was working as a barback at Bouchon.
I think I wrote her, I said, I know this is weird, but I think you are the right person for this movie, and if you respond to my book, I would love to develop it with you and have you direct it.
Well, he was really adamant that it was low budget so that we can kind of just not have to rely on anyone else for funding, and we could have total control of this movie, and it's through his production company.
I was sold, and I said, okay, now we need to get the money, and I think it was a little difficult because Gia wanted to use a lot of unknowns, and they were young, and the movie's, fairly dark, but I told her to hold on.
You're so emotionally involved, and your heart becomes so much in it that when we couldn't get financing and things kept falling apart, someone described it as like being in love with someone who doesn't love you back.